and thank you for coming to this webinar on fashion law. My name is Francisco Javier Garcia, and I am partner at the IP department at Uría Menéndez, and I am also the coordinator of the International Master in Fashion Law that we are organizing here at ISDE. It's a real pleasure to have you on board today. We have today three fantastic speakers, but before their presentation, I would like to briefly present our master. The master will take place in September. It's for a full academic year. It will be held in the city of Barcelona. It's a presential master. There is no possibility to undertake it online. It will be in English because it's a fully internationally designed master. It also includes an academic stay for 1 week in Milano. We are working with educational institutions there and fashion houses. The master is, as I was saying, designed to provide deep knowledge of the legal insights of the fashion industry. It is not designed for or not envisaged for designers or for marketing people. It's a master for lawyers, because this is what we're going to discuss today, that lawyers in the fashion industry at the end need a deep knowledge on not only about the business, but also about the fundamentals of the law. Therefore, the master is divided in several blocks that capture the essential legal issues that fashion houses face on a daily basis. So it includes IP, but it also includes labor, ESG, antitrust, international agreements, etc. Indeed, the master is initiated by the first block. Indeed, it's called an in-house perspective, where all the professors are members of in-house teams of the most well-known fashion brands, including our three guests today, that now I will introduce in a minute. So I was saying I have the honor to direct this master that we have designed. You have further information on ISDE's website with more detail on what I have just said. But again, if you are interested in fashion and working in the fashion industry as a lawyer, I really think this is the master to take. I have today three wonderful guests that will be our panelists today. As I was saying, the three of them are part of our team of professors, and I'm so honored by that. First of all, we have Jaime López de Villarreal. He's the general counsel at Loewe, which is a luxury brand, Spanish luxury brand that leads the sector in our country, but also it's member of the Louis Vuitton Group. We have Anna Forns, who is head of legal for Pandora for the countries of France, Spain, and Portugal. Pandora is this well-known jewelry manufacturer based in Denmark. And we also have Guillermo Zulueta, who is the general counsel at Bimba y Lola, which is, as you well know, a very famous Spanish fashion house based in Vigo, Galicia. So we have three different angles of this same issue, which is what is the role of a general counsel in a fashion house. So first of all, thank you, the three of you, for being with us today.
Thank you.
So we're going to divide the session in different questions that I would like you to please debate in between you, and please take the floor whenever you deem appropriate. The first question that I would like to share with the audience is, what does a typical day look like for you, in the role of a general counsel or legal director at a fashion or luxury brand? Guillermo, do you want to start, please?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much to all of you for having us here. It's a pleasure for all of us to be here and to share with you this little knowledge that we may have about the field. And regarding our typical day, well, I think I guess that we all agree that fashion is at the same time a very fresh and dynamic field, but at the same time it makes it very chaotic. I don't know you, Anna and Jaime, but at least in my case, I usually arrive to the office planning to do like 5 or 6 main tasks that I want to perform on that day. And at the end of the day, like 7 p.m., I haven't been able to start not a single one of them. Instead, I've been improvising the whole day, trying to stop fires, replying to questions and any other problems, solving problems, and improvising all the day, you know. So I think that's the good part of the field and for profession, because you have to be, as a lawyer, you have to be very fast, problem solving, and have a very practical mindset. And at the same time, that's also the bad thing, because you cannot really planify very much how to do things. No, I don't know, Ana and Jaime, if that's your case too.
I think I can say that I fully agree with what you say, and probably sometimes that when we're discussing that, and sometimes when we are in other conversations, we used to name ourselves as being like firemen sometimes, because this is our what reflects exactly our day to day. So jumping from one topic to the other topic, trying to find an easy solution but compliant at the same time, but also business oriented, can be one of our biggest challenges. But at the same time, I can say that those that we are already used to live in that way, it gives us also that passion for what we are doing, and that we can enjoy it on our daily basis. I assume that for Jaime can be similar, right?
So thank you very much, Paco. Thank you for the audience. A little introduction about myself. I've been general counsel for Loewe for the last 9 years, and every single day has been different to the previous one. So to be fully honest, if you like this sector, fight for it, because it's very exciting. We handle pretty much everything that you can imagine. The good thing about Loewe is that we go from the manufacturer here in Madrid, in Getafe, till the selling to final customers. So we pretty much see everything from a legal field. So it's very enriching because, as I said, you see pretty much all the legal topics that you can imagine. My preferred topics, obviously, in my daily day-to-day is real estate, but I see pretty much everything: IP, antitrust, distribution, marketing, celebrities, fashion shows also, that I guess pretty much all of you are aware of it. And as I said, it's a very exciting world. It's a great atmosphere, and many good experiences that it will make you grow as a lawyer also. So
I think I forgot to make 2 disclaimers. These 3 people here, in addition to be top-notch lawyers, they are good friends of mine. I have to make the disclaimer. And also, although it may look impossible, I can swear that Guillermo and I, we didn't match the ties on purpose. It's just classy people always,
Of course.
Of course. So the 3 of you all have worked in traditional law firms, in very well-known law firms. Indeed, the 3 of you in different law firms, but all of them very well-known and top tier as well. And how does your day-to-day differ from working there in these law firms to your current post? I don't know, Anna, if you want to start.
Sure.
Is it the same, or you see a little difference? Or
Well, I have to say that's a completely different world, but it's I mean, at the end, we're still being lawyers. This is what we discussed at the beginning, and what we are always saying. Not because we're working in a fashion industry, it means that we are going to runaways, that we are attending to the most iconic events of our brands. That's not true. I mean, obviously, that's a part that it's great, and we can all feel super proud about working there. But being a lawyer means in a company rather than a law firm, means not having the time that you would like to dedicate to the matters that you're handling. Sometimes means that you have to do an extra effort to be close to the business, because at the end, building that trust, building that business partnering relationship, it's super important. And it is something that, from my perspective, was an added value that we had to work and develop rather than when we were in a law firm. Good and bad thing, sometimes you can feel so frustrated about it because you will love to have more time to deep dive into some legal areas. But good thing is that you can support, usually in great law firms, as it is Uria in this case, to help you to go through that, to navigate those complex matter or matters that where you do not have time to dedicate as you would love to. So for me, that has been like the real difference from what I used to do in a law firm rather than what I'm doing now, being an in-house lawyer, I would say.
Yeah.
Jaime?
I could not agree.
Guillermo, please go ahead. Please.
Oh, sorry, Paco. You want to?
No, go, please, Guillermo. No, please.
No, I could not agree more with Ana. When you are in a law firm, you are focused in just one field of the law. In my case, I was specialized in corporate law and M&A, and I spent like 7 years doing board agreements, due diligences, and so on, and working for clients of different fields, like not just fashion, but also I don't fishing, automobile, airlines, anything. It was not that important to understand business, but to understand law. So when you move to a company, and specifically a fashion company, it's the other way around. I mean, you need to fully understand the business, which is not easy at first. And after that, specialized in not just one field of the law, but in many different fields. Like, for example, we deal with corporate issues, we deal with contracts of any type, especially distribution agreements, internationals and national agreements, IP, of course, trademark and designs, counterfeit protection, and fight against counterfeits, consumer law, blah, 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 and very long, etc. So suddenly you are specialized in just one field of the law, and after joining a company, you have to be, I will not say expert, but you have to be confident in many different fields, and at the same time, I think the most important part, as Ana mentioned, is knowing the business. That's what makes a difference between lawyers, those who know and understand the business and can adapt their legal knowledge to the business itself in order to take decisions that may benefit the business and the company. Jaime, I guess this is also your case. But
yes, I pretty much I'm aligned with both of you. In my case, was 8 or 9 years, I don't remember, in an external law firm and also in a Big Four. And for me, the main differences that I've noticed throughout the years is pretty much that, let's say that in-house lawyers, we're not experts in anything probably, but at the same times we have to know about everything. Okay. So we have to be able to get into the room with other departments such as marketing, finance, design team, HR, etc., and feel comfortable about what they're talking about. You have to know the business. You have to talk their language. I always compare our position as a Range Rover. We're all-road vehicles, and if you don't know anything, the good thing about our position is that you can hire external law firms for more expertise in some situations that it's needed. And the other main point that I would like to highlight is probably that the good thing about in-house lawyer is that, and forgive me, Paco, is that you see your work turned into something tangible, and that's very exciting. I mean, a new opening, a new bag, a new product, a lot of sales. I mean, that's something that I guess it's different from an external law firm.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my point of view.
This sometimes legend that we have, that align with what you were saying also, Guillermo, that in a law firm you see many different things, but that being an in-house is somehow boring because you always see the same thing. And I cannot disagree more on what Jaime said at the beginning. I don't think this is true. I think that an in-house is a lot, has very different days every day and many topics.
Completely, yeah. As I said at first, you have to improvise a lot and you have to know about almost everything, because you can face something about contracts and the next day something about IP, afterwards something about litigation, so you don't get bored at all in a company.
And if you don't know it, you will have to learn it.
Exactly.
And you also have to train your poker face in case you don't know.
Of course. And fight internally more than externally, which is another big difference between a law firm and an in-house role. In a company, sometimes you have to fight much more within your own colleagues in different departments than against your adversary or the lawyer in front of you.
True.
One, so you mentioned a lot of you mentioned different areas of of practice that you have to face on a daily basis. But which are the disciplines that you consider to be essential in the training? Then you the reality sometimes, well, in many occasions, is very different from the training. But what are these skills that you believe that for the training of a lawyer who wants to work in a fashion house is essential or is key? What would you consider these to be the key ones?
A great basis of corporate law, for example. I think for me that's essential because you will always have a legal entity to run. I would say that intellectual property knowledge as well, something like is super important. Then there's an important pillar in terms of labor law, but here it may differ from each company because not all the general counsels are working on that. Sometimes it's more under the scope of HR, so it may differ from one place to the other. And commercial field, distribution, agency agreements, as Jaime mentioned before, real estate. I think that there's a broader scope of knowledge, and nowadays I think that sustainability is on top of them.
Yeah.
For me, it's easy. It's common sense. Trust me, common sense in this field, in luxury particularly. I don't know if they're in the rest of the fields, but in luxury, common sense is essential. And trust me that I know what I'm talking about. It's not always so obvious. So common sense is crucial. Obviously, apart from everything that Anna has said, languages, in my case, French opened me many doors. I'm actually learning Italian also. I think it's always helpful. Negotiation skills, apart from all the legal knowledge that we all presume you already have. And versatility. Versatility is also something very important because it's not the same to talk to the design team with a lot of egos than talk to the finance team, which are much more like turning to the Excel, etc. So you also have to soft skills, but very important skills in this field.
Mm.
Yeah, completely agree with both. Exactly, the core skills that Jaime mentioned are very, very important for a in-house lawyer, especially in the fashion industry. And regarding the different fields of law, that if I had to choose just three as main and essential to deal with in the fashion industry, I would say corporate law, of course, because it's essentially the structure needed to perform the business. I would say contract or commercial law, contract law, if you want, essentially lease agreements and distribution agreements in general, and IP. IP is probably one of the most important ones because, in essence, fashion is based on brands, and protection, the legal protection of the brand, is a core element of any fashion business. So lawyers there have to be very strong on protecting brands, not just from other brands, but also about counterfeits, design problems, or conflicts of design, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Jaime mentioned that you have relationship with different internal clients, different people within your company. How is this relationship between the legal team and commercial, creative teams look like? How you ensure that the legal function is really seen as a business enabler, not a spin on the wheel? Because for many companies have this image that this legal is just a spin on the wheel or a cost center, whilst in reality, and I know in particular in your case and for Ana and Guillermo, you are business enablers. So how you make this possible, and how you change your register? Because at the end of the day, they ask you complex legal questions. How you land that into because marketing team has also their own complex language, but at the end of the day, you have to. They are not experts in law. How you make them to be aware of this, of the problems or the solutions? How you work with that?
The truth is, I have the honor or the bad luck, depends how you look at it, of being the first in-house lawyer of Loewe for nearly 180 years. We are the second oldest fashion house worldwide, after Hermes, I think. It's the oldest one. So I had to build the legal department from zero. So to be honest, at the beginning it was very challenging. It's not something that you obtain in one day, obviously.
Mhm.
There's a lot of work behind. I made the legal department from nothing. So, and business, as you said, has to be seen as a true partner, not as an obstacle. That's key. That's key for day to day. I was talking before about common sense, but also something very important is communication skills. You have to know the business, but you also need to speak their own language. You must be, obviously lawyers speak like very technically, etc., but you have to change your mindset. You have to talk as they talk, and be understood, let's say, and obviously gain their trust. If they trust you, they will give you visibility for every project from the beginning, and only with visibility you will be able to anticipate to possible issues. And in my opinion, anticipation is the main difference between a good legal department and excellent legal department.
Mhm.
So as I said, gain the trust, talk the language, and make you feel comfortable, important in the company.
Mhm. Anna, how do you see, and do you see any difference also, because you also have the thing of being part of a international, no, you have the headquarters in Denmark. So does it also influence in the way you interact with your colleagues, for example?
Definitely, and thanks for asking that, Paco. I think that here, as everything today, everything is about marketing. So it's super important how we sell ourselves within the company. So as the rest of the positions, it is super important to showcase the teams that we are here to support them, to be proactive. So what Jaime is saying, in order to be involved in the matters before and not after. So that build that trust will give us the opportunity to be more proactive in the way we find a solution and not just being reactive to an issue or a problem, and also to anticipate potential risks that may arise. So I think that's super important to build that relationship with them, and not just professionally speaking, but also personally speaking. Try to engage with them. So try to find time to spend with the teams to explain what we're doing. We also love to participate in our town halls to give some visibility of what is the legal department, what we are doing, how we can support them, and in reality to showcase the added value that we can give to a company, that it's not just refraining them from sanctions, from potential risk or whatever. No, it is more than that. It's more like to go with the business, be part of the decision making, and sometimes act more as a consultancy rather than just the police, or just rather like to be compliant. So more like to be proper with the leadership team taking decisions. Yeah.
Not only being the bad guy.
No, exactly. That's the objective.
What about you, Guillermo? What do you think? How do you manage this situation? Because you have the creative here, you have you also have very quite unique headquarters there in Vigo.
Indeed, we have. I cannot agree more with both of them. I mean, I completely agree that the way you communicate things is essential, especially when you are dealing with non-legal people. You know, and taking back the previous question, when you arrive to a company from a law firm, first thing you need to change is the legalese thinking and legalese way of talking. You have to be able to transmit ideas easy and easy to understand for someone who does not have a formal legal experience or knowledge. But despite of that, even if you do that right, you have to keep in mind that sometimes the different departments within the same company may have opposing interests. For example, it's very common, not just in our case, but also in many other fashion companies, that the commercial teams have their own requirements and objectives to open stores as soon as possible, for example, while the legal department is in charge of controlling those that the lease agreements or any other agreement related to the stores comply with all the terms and conditions, or not all of them, but at least the essential terms and conditions required for the rightful operation of the business and in the benefit of the business. And this sometimes leads to conflicts and clashes between the departments. For example, they want to open the store as soon as possible within 1 week, but you have to say, hey, no, we cannot open in 1 week because we still have not negotiated indeed the agreement. And there are several terms and conditions that may be harsh for the business in the mid or long run, you know. In these cases, it's very important, according to my experience, to have the CEO of the CEO in my case, because I depend directly from the CEO or the person in charge of the legal department, to back you up. I mean, to make sure that the CEO or the person in charge fully understands the potential problems of not being compliant with, not just compliant with the law itself, but also to negotiate properly agreements in favor of the business. This not always happens. This is something that you will have sometimes to deal with when you work in-house. You will have to try to explain to your own boss to say so why your work is important, you know. And it's very important to have him backing you up, because otherwise commercial teams will always have more power than you within a company. At the end of the day, they are the ones gaining sales, you know, you are a cost. This is the mindset that you will find in the fashion industry, you know. So it's very important that you showcase that you also can contribute towards sales and to healthy sales in the future, you know. That's the most important message that you have to give inside, I think.
Now that you were speaking about this complexity of different interests, how you manage also this we were discussing now about internal complexities between different languages, different departments, potentially clashing interests. What about the complexity of dealing with partners and different jurisdictions of different partners? I mean, franchisees, wholesalers, retails, concessions, corners in malls. So this plurality, this variety of and diversity of partners, but also in different jurisdictions, you all are members of well-known international houses, but also in this constantly changing, in this constantly changing scenario, and also in being headquartered in a country like Spain, where you all know well that maybe Catalonia has different regulations on Black Friday than others. So how you manage this whole complexity of being present in so many places, dealing with so many parties externally, with these different legal frameworks, mindsets, sensitivity, because maybe you negotiate with partners that they don't have any kind of legal sensibility, they don't care, and they're saying everything. So how you manage this complexity?
In my opinion, you need to have a global mentality. We're not Spanish lawyers anymore. We're more like international legal advisors, I would say. In my case, we're present in pretty much 45, 50 countries, regions, different legislations. So every time I receive a query, I have to multiply it by 50. So imagine the nightmare. I'm going to give you an example. It's quite straightforward. When I arrived to Loewe 9 years ago, I received an email from the product director saying, Jaime, we're going to start selling jewelry in stores. Can you please tell me what are the obligations, blah, blah, blah. So I prepared a magnificent report with all the obligations, what's expected from us, etc. Obviously, from the Spanish legal point of view. I said, I really like your job. Thank you very much. It's very helpful. But what happens in the US? What happened in Hong Kong, in China, etc., etc. So that day I realized that the Spanish legislation wasn't enough anymore. So I completely changed my mindset. Something that is quite helpful and very operational is normally to take the most restrictive legislation. So if you know which one is the worst and you apply it worldwide, you make sure you're compliant. So it's from an operational point of view, it's sometimes the easiest way to proceed, and sometimes you have to customize it by country. Depends on the importance, and you obviously need to balance business versus compliance, but you need an extra sensibility. That's for sure.
What about you, Guillermo? How you manage this complexity?
Well, same as Jaime. I mean, one of the biggest problems, especially when you are dealing with or you are leading the legal department in the head office international fashion firm, is that you have to face many different jurisdictions. Concerning specifically distribution agreements like franchise agreements, the good thing for you is that usually they are always your same contract model, so you don't have to rely on different jurisdictions. You can pretty much impose your own, and those are your terms and conditions. However, it is true that it's not always the case. For example, lease agreements need to be dealt with jurisdiction and applicable law of the country, the stories, So that's again one of the good and bad things about the fashion industry, that you have to deal with many different jurisdictions. Of course, you cannot deal with them directly because you are not entitled to exercise as a lawyer there, and the law is very different. But you get in touch with many local law firms, and you need to understand at least the basics of the many jurisdictions you are working on. But being more specific to your original question about distribution and franchise agreement, I usually find them easier to negotiate with external distributors than with, for example, landlords or even sometimes internal teams. As I said before, sometimes you find it easier to deal with external people than with people inside. But we usually, in our case, regarding distribution agreements, we usually use our own contract model. I don't know if that's the case in Ana or Jaime, but it's usually easier to do that.
I second what you both say, Guillermo and Jaime, and I would say that here sometimes we need to be super realistic, because when you are rolling out an expansion plan, sometimes it is more a matter of appetite of risk of the company, and sometimes you need to anchor that risk and go to the decision making and say, okay, what do we want to do? Do we want to take that risk or not? Because sometimes, even if it's not possible to be 100% legal covered, and this may depend on the risk appetite that the company has and how ambitious they are with the plan and the business strategies.
Okay. The three of you mentioned before that intellectual property is one of the key areas that you deem for your position, one of the most relevant. Sometimes it's defined as the backbone of the fashion industry. How you manage the IP strategy at your company, and what are the biggest challenge that you face? Because at the end, it's the three of you are in fashion houses that have some similarities, but they are also so different. So how you manage these challenges from the IP arena, counterfeiting, technology? How you handle this?
Well, in our case, I usually defer three main areas in IP, which is firstly what to register as a trademark or even as a design. And that requires you to be very close to the design department in order to find out what they are doing, because sometimes they improvise while creating new products, and sometimes they use or create new elements or designs or logos that may be used as trademarks, and that in the long term they turn to be used. They start to use it constantly, so they became a trademark. So you have to be very cautious with that, and as soon as you detect that they are creating those kind of signs, proceed to register it in order to avoid any potential problems. Sometimes they don't even tell you, and they start using different signs or different designs or elements that may lead you to have any kind of conflict with other brands. That has already happened, and with other designers, And in the secondly, you need to know where to register all your trademarks, design, etc. It's from a cost point of view, it's very important to define a list of countries where you are going to proceed with registrations. It's usually where you commercialize your products, or what we call a cover tree register, which is some countries, like for example, China, north of Africa, and countries in the north of Africa, that despite you do not distribute products there, it's important or recommended that you register your trademark there in order to avoid anyone using it for counterfeiting, importing counterfeited goods, etc., etc. And to manage your IP, all your IP registries, it's very important also to have a very good and dynamic IP agent, because unless you are a certified IP agent, you will need a company. I see Paco smiling.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. A question just blew my mind. Sorry, it's like I imagine yourself. I portray yourself working in a bazaar in Northern Africa in your summertime, and you see some counterfeited Bimba y Lola stuff. What are the typical that become crazy and say, oh my god, make pictures, and then or you just say, yes, I'm on vacation, I don't care, I'm on holiday.
I'm the second type. I'm on holiday. Except that the company owner sees them and sends you the pictures. That has already happened also. Yeah. As I said, it's very important to have an IP agent that is in charge of the registries worldwide of all these IP brands and trademarks and designs. And as Paco mentioned, the third main role that we have regarding IP is counterfeiting in our case. Not every fashion company has to face this, but in our case we do. And it's a very, very important part, chasing counterfeits, both in the physical market and above all, right now in online markets, marketplaces, social media, and so on. So,
but I know it's sad to say that, but counterfeiting at the end of the day, it's a good sign in terms of market success. So the three of you have to face this disgrace, but at the end of the day, it's a symptom that people is willing to achieve your product. Of course, it's something that it's unbearable, but at the end of the day, I mean, as we say in Spanish, mal de muchos, no consuelo de todos. But anyway, but it's true.
Yeah.
But it's definitely.
No,
definitely.
It is true indeed. It's some kind of honor to be counterfeited. Otherwise,
the first time, the second you don't like it anymore.
Yeah, you have to be with it. But
what about you, Jaime? How do you manage IP matters with the complexity of a brand like Loewe?
In my case,
and your iconic pieces, of course. Yeah.
In my case, I'm lucky enough because IP matters is handled by LVMH. It's so important for us that it is centralized in Paris. So I get the support from the IP team, but not also the IP team, but also the anti-counterfeiting team. So as Guillermo well said, it's divided in two. For us, it's really important to be proactive for every time that we get a new design, a new bag, etc., to check the novelty, to check that it's protectable, let's say. Not only the design, but also the name, the shape. So we actually do a huge work to feel safe enough before any kind of commercialization. That's point one. Point two, also from a defensive strategy, we have to protect all our products, or pretty much all of them worldwide. So in case of any counterfeiting, we can fight against it, but not also from counterfeiting, but also from other brands that, let's say, inspire their design from ours. And that's something that we have obviously need to take care of. And to be fully transparent, it's a huge investment in IP strategy, both defensive and proactive strategy. So IP is, as you said, is a backbone of the fashion industry. In the luxury world, I guess it's even more important because the protection is crucial for us. And it's something, if you get specialized in IP, luxury is for sure somewhere where you can find a good job. That's for sure.
Yeah. What about you, Anna? With all this little Pandora, how do you call this? It's not the English word would not be pieces. In Spanish would be a valor.
Charms.
Yeah, charms. That's
charms.
Sorry, charm.
Everybody knows that, charms.
Charm, correct.
A few ones in Spanish, and it was not that fancy because in Spanish was albalorios, and I don't think no one wants to use this name for marketing.
It's not as sexy as charm, definitely.
It is not.
Is the
Exactly. I would say that it's same but different. So in our case, similar to what Jaime said, but in our case, it's handled directly by a head office as well, but in Denmark, so in Copenhagen. But again, I mean, same issues of what Guillermo and Jaime mentioned. In our case, I would say that it's also divided into IP and brand protection. There are two separated teams. I have to say that good thing is that we have the best ones, so we are quite legally covered. So nothing to be worried, despite that we are one of the most counterfeited brands. And secondly, I would say that here something that we are working on them quite closely, and we do support them when they need local input, is more for the licensing part, and when they want to create more license or collaborations for local activations is where we are usually involved.
Okay. Thank you. Another topic that I would like to cover with you, that it is again on the spotlight after the new influence code by Autocontrol on October, at least in Spain, but it's also a hot topic in other EU jurisdictions, is influence marketing. What are the main challenges that you see when you deal with influence marketing, brand ambassadors, and how you handle the compliance in different countries? Because at the end of the day, we have in Spain this code, in France is different, but you are global brands, no? So you represent global brands. So at the end of the day, and the posts are usually to target a global audience. So how you handle this complexity with this hot topic?
I can jump into this because I know that the audience will probably be Gen Z or students, and they will probably be aware that we have a crew. This is the official name of our almost 14 influencers that we have in Spain and 10 in Portugal. In France, it's still under construction. But let's say that it's something that is for all of us quite challenging, since, as you mentioned, it has been evolving. Things are quite new now with the regulation of Autocontrol. In Spain, the scope is more similar to what we had in other European markets. We were not in the scope at the beginning for Spain, but now it's getting more realistic, and they're trying more to showcase what they're really doing. Here again, as everything, there might be like two phases, because again, it is true that we can mention of everything that it's real or that everything is publicity. There might be some opinions around this topic, and I know that we'll have time for a debate on this. But I would say that is something that it's quite interesting to learn about, and that it gives us a perspective on how to manage it from different perspectives. So there's a contractual part, like the basis that we have to do. There's also an intellectual property part where you have to really consider those image rights. How do you want to frame it? Because again, it is not like those agreements that we used to do, where we're just limiting the scope or the use of those images to a local scope. Now it's more like internet, Instagram. How can you limit that? It's more difficult. So I would say that it's something that's super, super interesting, but the most pressing legal issues, I would say, to manage the team, their expectations, and how to explain them. What are the benefits of having a good legal framework with them?
Okay. Thank you. What about you, Guillermo? Well, I do agree completely with Anna, but in our case, we don't do many collaborations with influencers. Of course, we do, but they are usually very specific and pointy. I mean, it's not. We usually deal with agencies mostly. So agencies take charge of all the negotiations with different influencers and so on. So we, from the legal department, we don't usually need to deal with them. But yeah, it's a very important part of the fashion industry, of course, and more with time, because people right now, I think they listen much more to influencers than traditional advertising or traditional marketing.
You, Jaime, how do you work with influencers? Yeah.
I'm going to be transparent. It's a complete nightmare. Influencer ambassadors for us are very important. Obviously, we have to be compliant worldwide. In France now, there's a new legislation arising, which is very complex. I'm sure we will talk about it during the ESD master with more details, because actually we're building the strategy. I cannot give more details in this part, I guess, yet. Another topic very important, not only from the legal point of view, is from the tax point of view, tax perspective. Finance, tax has to be in the table, because you may receive also some complaints from the authorities from that point of view. So something also to take care about is the tax perspective.
Yeah, definitely. This complexity, also payments in kind. Yeah, definitely. So thank you very much. I would like to move now to some final questions. We speak about your career, we speak about challenging practice, and now I'd like to ask you, what do you look when you are hiring lawyers for your teams? No, of course, beyond the academic qualifications, as you said, that is a given. What do you also look? What would you like a member of your team to have?
Well, I would say that in our case, for example, we're always looking for someone who wants to learn, who has a great can-do attitude, because this is what we say. I mean, we're not superheroes, but they're sometimes expecting us to be. So you will always need to be keen on helping the business, keen on making things happen, and trying to give them to make sure that what we are doing is compliant and aligned with their business needs. So again, curiosity, and I would say that passion for what we do. That despite of law, there's also that passionate part regarding to the field and specific that we are doing linked to the fashion world. I think it's super important.
Yeah, I agree. Enthusiasm. I guess enthusiasm is the most important thing I check when I have an interview. Obviously, every position is different. It's not the same if it's a junior profile or it's more a senior profile. On top of professional background, CV, etc., I see the enthusiasm, the willing to learn. Obviously, transparency. My HR director told me once, and it was very illustrative. We don't save lives here. We just do bags. So we have to take our job seriously, but not make a drama of it. So we can make mistakes, all of us. Just be transparent, try to solve it, and that's pretty much it. No?
Sure. I completely agree, especially when you are hiring young people, right? When you're hiring young people, you don't expect them to have much experience, but you expect them to have some core skills. Especially in my case, I usually take a look at having a problem-solving attitude and mindset, being object-driven, and having an analytic mindset also is very important, being capable of rationalize problems and propose logic solutions, and also capacity to learn and adapt. That's the main things I would point out as more important. Also, for example, having a master will also help, because they already have a piece of knowledge that is very important, and that will make them probably grow faster, and be useful, to say so, faster within the department.
Now that you mentioned the master thing, just two quick things. If anyone has any question, please put it on the chat so that we can share it with our panelists. But now, Guillermo, that you mentioned the issue about the masters, thank you very much for that. Because my last question for you all is, why would you recommend a student joining ISDE's International Master in Fashion Law? What would be the reason for joining, in your opinion?
Well, I think that if you are really interested and you do really want to work in the fashion industry as a lawyer, I think the best option you can have is to specialize yourself by training in the different fields of law that you will have to face within a fashion law company legal department. And this, for example, is a very good example now. We have already mentioned through the last hour the different fields that you will need to be comfortable with in order to work in a legal department of this kind of field. in this kind of companies. So it's very important to have that knowledge beforehand. I mean, because since they are very, very different fields of the law, it's very difficult to find someone who is specialized in all of them. I mean, traditional masters are like, as I did back in the day, like company law, which is corporate contracts, and that's it, or tax law, which is focused mainly on tax, or IP, But the problem is that when you're in a company, you have to be, as said, confident with many, many different fields, which are not related to each other. When I firstly joined BIM Lola in order to create the department, I was not an expert, but I was very, very confident in company law. But I had to learn about IP, I had to learn about consumer law, I had to learn about private international law. I had to learn about many distribution contracts, which I had no idea, So having this knowledge beforehand, I think, is very useful, and may make a difference in a selection process. Of course, as mentioned before, most important thing is core skills, not just knowledge, because knowledge is acquired, but the core skills are the main thing to go. But in a situation where core skills for both people, for two or more people, are the same, having the right knowledge may make a difference.
Thank you.
I agree. It's not just the technical knowledge that obviously will be super customized to build and growth and prepare that career development, so you can be in a similar position to the one that we are having nowadays, the three of us, but also that skills that you need to develop yourself in that area and that feel comfortable, since you will have that practical knowledge from professors, and everything will be addressed to that business-oriented solution, to that open-minded in terms of international. It will give you a broader vision of what an in-house lawyer needs.
Yeah, I would say fashion law now is booming. It's growing a lot, that's for sure, because normally brands used to externalize all the works, and from the last years it's starting to be internalized. So there's a lot of room for improving. As I said before, it's difficult to find an external law firm with a fashion law department. Normally you have to hire a couple of them. So there's not so many, and it's a field where you can make the difference, that's for sure. That's the new, let's say, law section with a huge exponential growth. So I really recommend this.
Thank you, the three of you. I'm really looking forward to see you in September at the beginning of our course, of our master. I don't know if there is any question from the audience. We have 3 minutes remaining. Please write it into the chat. Otherwise, we will finalize here the session. Let me check. Okay, we have some questions here. First question: when is it starting? September. The date is it will be after there is in Barcelona, it's a bank holiday, the 11th of September. It will be afterwards, but you have more information on ISDE's website. Please check it. Mohammed asks us, what criteria do you typically use when deciding whether a counterfeiting case is worth pursuing? I don't know, Guillermo, if you want to go for this one.
Yeah, well, essentially the number of counterfeits detected. I mean, we have had several cases with encapsulation by the customs of like 5,000, 10,000 counterfeited products. In those cases, we usually take action. If we're talking like 5, 10 counterfeited products, we usually do not spend much time with it, because it's, as Jaime said, it's very costly to having to pursue this kind of behavior. So we usually are very selective on choosing where to start actions or not.
Thank you. There is another question on cultural heritage. As you know, in Mexico, there is a law we have this question from Sandra Veliz. She's referring to a regulation that it is in Mexico. There is a similar one in China, indeed, to protect the cultural heritage of certain indigenous tribes, and their typical patterns and so on and so forth. And and there are some cases of cultural misappropriation, other of cultural inspiration, also of home gates, no, when you want to rent a tribute to Mexican cultures, etc. Do you have had any case of that in particularly Mexico or otherwise, and do you have any kind of approach to this, or you have not faced it? I don't know if any of you have faced it.
Not under my watch. No, we obviously analyze these kind of topics. Very important for us. We, as a brand, obviously, we really respect all the historic, cultural rights from all the cultures. We really take care of it, and obviously, we analyze it and we protect it. Obviously.
Thank you. Marta is asking one thing that I will respond for you, Marta. And of course you have the information on ISDE's website, but as part of this master, there will be some internship opportunities, not specifically in the speakers today. We are working on that in different. There will be different opportunities in different fields, in-house and external counsel. So yes. In addition to this stay in Milano, there will be some internship opportunities. Again, ISDE has this program, and it's an added value of this master. So it's an excellent question. Thank you for raising. We are working on that, but for sure we will give some opportunities to that. Montse is asking us how valuable are in your companies that, as we mentioned, are multi-jurisdictional to be double qualified. So to have, for example, a UK and Spanish qualification to be a lawyer, or if this is not necessarily a plus.
It depends on the structure of the company, I would say. There might be some where the area is more linked, and those that maybe are operating more on a headquarters basis, that can be a super advantage. I think it may be different from one company to another.
I think it's always a plus. I mean, have the double qualification. Something, I mean, no resta. So yeah. I would take it into account for sure. Obviously, if it's from a legislation like France, Italy, UK, US.
Yeah, I do agree. It's a plus. Maybe not a minimum, because obviously it's not minimum, but it's a plus. It may be a plus. Yes.
Understood. Marta poses a very interesting question. Could you walk me through how we reached your current position? What were your academic background, experience that you led to this role? Thank you. I don't know, this is very interesting because the three of you have the similar but different backgrounds, you know, in different cities, by the way. So I don't know if you want to start, Dana.
Yeah, in my case, I would say that thanks probably to the language that I speak, that it was easy because I was jumping to one company and another at the right place and the right moment where they had that need. So I would say that in my case, I always had in mind that I wanted to dedicate myself into this area. So I am of the generation of fashion law. So despite I started my career in a law firm, well, in a Big Four in my case, but I knew that this was what I wanted to do, and I pursued. So in fact, I've done few studies in Milan, then I went to Paris, and then I finally ended up in London to study fashion business and to better understand what was the career, what was the things that I had to learn from a business perspective to develop and to keep the path at the same time while I was developing my lawyer degree at the same time with the business skills that I needed. So this was my expertise, and then I always work as an in-house fashion at the beginning in Barcelona, so for perfumes and cosmetic area. Then I jumped to Pronovia, so bridal wear, and now in Generali. So 3 different areas, but I can tell you that the experience has been pretty much the same, and the problems, as we mentioned, as you say, both the three of us, I mean, coming from different companies, are quite similar.
You, Guillermo, how you ended up in Bimba?
Sorry, I was reading a very interesting question, if I may.
Please go ahead, of course. This is your panel, come on.
I was just here listening to you talking while I was. I think it's someone replied before, but I was just thinking about it because we had a case not long ago. Well, it was like 5 years ago or so. It was a person from Mexico asking about the misuse of traditional or cultural aspects. I would like to point that out a little bit. I mean, as you know, in IP, inspiration is legal. I mean, and it's very interesting to talk about this. Actually, it could be a very good topic for talking, but with more time, not now. But we had a similar case like 5 years ago when we created a print inspired by Africa, but with hand painted with typical African motifs and drawings of native African people. And while it was very nice and people liked it, I remember that a lot of people raised questions and raised a lot of problems regarding the cultural appropriation. And maybe, it raised to several legal issues with this, right? I would like to clarify that, inspiration is legal. I mean, and there is no misuse of in the inspiration of a certain culture, not necessarily. I mean, it depends on how you do it or how you do it, right? I also remember, for example, like 2 years ago, we did a collection inspired by the Dia de los Muertos, the Mexican typical party, which was very, very, very successful in Mexico. But again, many people raised the question of this, if this was cultural misappropriation or something like that. I can give my opinion, legal opinion, which is not. I mean, there's no legal issue with that, as long as it is an inspiration or as long as it's not something that is protected by a specific right. But also, morally speaking, I don't think there should be any problem with that. I mean, it's just something that we can get inspired. Actually, when you work in the fashion industry, you can see that all the designs are always inspired on previous designs, and that makes it better, not necessarily worst, I don't know what's your opinion. Sorry about this, because I read a comment or a question before, and I think it's very interesting to discuss about this. Not sure if we have the time anyway.
Perfect. Okay.
Going back to the previous question about how we ended up here, in my case, by chance, because I was never into the fashion world, to be honest. My dream was to be the general counsel of Real Madrid. I don't think it will happen anymore, so I will take the chance with Loewe. And no, but it was pretty much because I used to work in a law firm and Loewe was our client. Mm-hmm. So when the top management changed, they gave me the opportunity to go from external to in-house. I accepted, and it was obviously a very good decision.
Well, thank you very much to the three of you and to all the attendees. I think it has been super interesting. I think it has been a good taste of what we are going to see during the next year in our course. I see many questions on the specific dates, the cost, if it is online or offline. I say this only presential in Barcelona, but you have all this information in ISDE's website, and also you have an email where you can, and a form where you can fill in questions. So please check it out, and ISDE's team will be super happy to respond to any kind of query. And having said that, again, super thanks to my super 3 panelists today. It's a complete luxury to have you on board, both today and in our master. So thank you so much, and see you in September in Barcelona.
Thank you very much, Paco.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.